Board of Directors, Managers, good afternoon. Today, myself and 4 other members of our management team represent Chester Corporation in this presentation. Our management team consists of myself, Elise Bergman, Kristen Bourne, Jack Cheesewright, and Emma Bryson. During today's presentation, I'll be giving you an overview of where our company stands today financially. And my teammates will walk you through our company's strategy since our company was created after the government split up a monopoly. We will also address the changes we made to our strategy and the results of the change. Finally, our team has prepared a few recommendations for your management team, as well as a few lessons that we've learned over these 8 years of management. I'd like to begin by giving a financial report of where Chester stands today. First, let's look at some ratios that show the average of our return on sales, return on equity, and return on assets over the past 8 years compared to our industry averages. Our return on sales ratio hovers just above 4 and is neck and neck with others in this industry. Our return on equity ratio sits just over 11 and is well above the industry average. Finally, our ratio on assets, return on assets ratio is just above 10 and has a comfortable margin over the industry. Let's move on to Chester's market share in the industry. Starting in the low-tech segment, we hold 9% of the market share, the lowest in the industry. This is expected due to the fact that we have moved to mainly target the high-tech segment, as you'll learn later on in the presentation. Moving on to high-tech, we hold 20% of the market share in this segment, and it has been growing steadily over the past 5 years and has just recently made a minor drop due to one product which was originally targeted for both segments and has now been left for just a low-tech segment. We're confident that with consistent product development, we'll be able to continually grow our market share in high-tech. I'm very excited to show you our net income growth over the years. We have made huge leaps since 2017. This is great news, but we haven't forgotten the tough years and that is why we've analyzed the problems that caused low net income, and they will be presented to you later on by Ms. Bourne. As of the year end 2020, our cumulative profit stands at $34,781,300. We're still behind 3 competitors in the industry, but that gap has been closed over the past few years. And finally, our stock price as of today stands at $38.18. We've made great progress since our low of $1 in 2015. Our stock price in last year made an incredible jump of 88%. We believe this is due to our retiring of our shares and issuance of dividends. That concludes the overview of our financials. And now I'd like to invite up Elise Bergman to address our company's strategy over the past 8 years. Elise.
Good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you about our strategy. So when picking our strategy, we had the option between broad cost leader, broad differentiator, niche cost leader, and niche differentiator. We decided to use the broad differentiator strategy, which meant we would focus on becoming a premium brand which offered new and top-of-the-line products at a slightly higher price.
We put together our mission statement, which declared, we will create premium products for the industry with a brand that withstands the tests of time. Our stakeholders are the customers, stockholders, management team, and employees.
Although this was successful at first, after a few rounds, we noticed that our market share was dropping, as well as our profits. We got together and discussed possible solutions and noticed that Digby was dominating in the low-tech market, but that there was room in the high-tech market to obtain a large market share. For this reason, we decided to switch to become niche differentiators. This meant that we would target only the high-tech market, producing 2 premium high-tech products and 1 low-tech product with less of our focus. This change has proven very successful, and my colleague Ms. Bourne will now talk to you about the results.
Now I'd like to present you with the results after the modification of our strategy. The results obtained by changing our initial strategy by being a broad differentiator to a niche differentiator for high-tech products had a positive effect and began to make the company a profit by the fourth round. As shown in the graph, in the first few rounds, when products were aimed to be differentiable in the low and high-tech segments, our profit was declining. Once making a switch to targeting mainly the high-tech segment, our profits began to increase. This graph includes each round's sales in blue, profit in yellow, and inventory in green. Through analyzing this graph, we can see that there is a trend, and when the sales increase, the profit also increases. Along with this, we can make the link between the inventory carried and the profit. It seems that whenever the company has too much inventory, it doesn't make a profit. The excess amount of inventory, the cost of second labor shift, affect the company's profit drastically. By overproducing and then having excess inventory, the company was not selling all that they were producing. Our change in strategy did have a positive effect. By using SWOT and doing an internal analysis of the company's strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities that arise, and the threats that occur, we can see the company is now doing a much better job than it initially was. The fact that we have no debt is a major strength for this company. Since we have redirected our target to the high-tech segment, we now have the second highest market share in this segment. We can also see through analysis that we have a very high return on equity, which makes us extremely popular to investors and makes our existing stockholders very happy. The main weakness at the moment is the low-tech segment. Seems to be generating more of our profit than the high-tech segment. Although we have 2 products in high-tech and 1 in low-tech, and we put most of our time into targeting the high-tech segment, a good amount of our profit is still coming from the low-tech product. The opportunity we wish to seize is to increase market share in the high-tech segment. Our overall goal for the future is to dominate this segment completely. The threat that this company has to face is the competition that has no trouble entering this market because of the lack of barriers for entry. There are many companies competing in the market, which makes it more difficult for us to gain control. And that's the SWOT analysis of our company. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Cheesewright to talk about our recommendations.
Now that we have analysed the Chester Corporation's performance history and our current financial position, we must now look forward towards the company's future. Based upon our experiences in the industry, we have devised 3 key recommendations for the new incoming management team to keep in mind when taking over management of the company. The first of these is to invest wisely. The second is to forecast conservatively. And the third is to continue to target the high-tech sector. In the past, the Chester Corporation has been extremely debt-averse. While this has left us in a great situation, having absolutely no debt, it has also caused us to miss out on a lot of opportunities and has left us playing catch-up with our competitors throughout the course of our operation as a business. In order for the business to be successful in this industry, 3 key factors must be established. Firstly, you must have a well-desired and broad product base. 2, you must have efficient manufacturing processes to make these products. And 3, you must have high customer accessibility and awareness. In order to obtain these factors, a large amount of capital must be invested. And while funds can be obtained through equity methods such as issuing stocks, this dilutes the ownership of the company. Therefore, if Chester wants to remain successful and continue to grow, debt is not only an option, it is a necessity. If debt is not intelligently used, Chester will be left in the dust of our competitors. One of the biggest, if not the biggest mistake this management team made over the course of the last 8 years is that our forecasting was not always spot on. Forecasting is immeasurably important, and if the company is going to be successful, it must be done right. If too much product is produced, there will be high production and stock carryover costs. Conversely, if too little is produced, the company could miss out on an opportunity to sell. In the first few rounds, we over-forecasted tremendously, and this caused us to have a net loss and our stock price to plummet. At one point, we were even forced to take out a $35 million emergency loan. The management team would therefore recommend to the future management team to forecast conservatively and then to produce slightly more than you have forecasted that you will produce. In this way, the risks of stocking out and overproducing are minimized most effectively. As has been previously shown in other slides, the Chester Corporation has an extremely low market share in the low-tech sector, and our main strength lies in our large market share in the high-tech sector. The low-tech sector, while obviously extremely profitable, is currently dominated by large players, and it would simply be too expensive for us to continue competing in the industry. However, in the high-tech sector, there is a fairly even split of market share between the three companies, including ourselves. Therefore, if we continue to push and invest in this industry, we can surely capitalise and gain a much larger market share, thus driving our profits skyward. I would now like to invite my colleague, Ms. Emma Bryson, up to the stage to discuss lessons we have learned from our 8 years of management.
Over the 8 years in our industry, our company has learned 2 major lessons from our experience: segregation of roles and revisiting original goals. After evaluating our performance throughout each round, we found that although we became more familiar with each area, we never really gained an expert understanding of the important roles of R&D, production, marketing, and finance as a whole. The problem was that each group member was trying to balance their efforts between the 4 areas and therefore not being able to use each area to its full potential. Our solution to this problem is simple: divide the group into assigned roles for which each member is responsible. In essence, each individual becomes the expert of his or her specific area. This gives everyone more time to allocate to one area instead of stretching efforts among multiple regions. Then, with precise knowledge of how to maximize profits in their specialty, we can then meet as a group and together discuss moves for the next round. Throughout the simulation, our focus would tend to stray from our previous plan, and we did not regularly revisit the handbook guide. We found it is easy to get off track when so many factors are constantly changing our position in the market. This led to a major lesson for our company: always refer to your original goals and tactics. Therefore, by revisiting your plans and the 3 C's set at the beginning of the business planning cycle, you should be able to make level-headed decisions that correspond directly with the company's strategy. Now I'd like to invite up my 4 colleagues. And on behalf of Chester Corporation, I'd like to thank you all for being here today.